$58,900 Canadian dollars. That is the whole asking price. Not the deposit, not the down payment, not what's owed on a mortgage. That is everything they want for a house with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and more than 1,400 square feet of room inside it. And before you tell me there has to be a catch, there is, and I'll be straight with you about every single one. Let me hand you a number to hold on to. Manitoba is bigger than Texas, and most of the people in it are packed into one city. Out past Winnipeg, the province just opens up. Flat grain land in the south, lakes and bush going on for hours up north. And for every soul who packed up and left a small town behind, there's a quiet corner of the map nobody films. The listings won't show you that part. They show you the city. They show you what pays the commission. I've spent years now reading the boards the realtors don't put on the front page. Kijiji, the little Manitoba bulletin sites, the listings that never make it to the glossy app. And it's the same story every time. The cheap houses in Canada aren't gone. They're just quietly filed where the average buyer never scrolls. So hit subscribe and come down this list with me. Today I'll show you 5 houses in rural Manitoba where the price tag just doesn't make any sense. Every one of them under 100,000 Canadian dollars. Every figure straight off Kijiji and the Manitoba boards. Now one honest word up top because I won't pretend with you. Manitoba doesn't have the dirt cheap sub 30,000 stock that Saskatchewan does next door. The real floor here sits somewhere between 55 and 99,000. So these aren't fantasy numbers. They're the genuine bottom of a real market, and every one of them has a reason most Canadians scroll right past it. That reason is the whole point. We count down from the dearest to the cheapest, and number 1 is the $58,000 place I just told you about. It's the one I'd actually go look at, but we work our way down to it. Number 5, Shoal Lake, out in western Manitoba, where 3 provincial highways cross and the prairie starts feeling genuinely empty. This is the dearest of the 5. And I put it first on purpose, because it's the most house you'll see today. There's a place on Provincial Trunk Highway 16 going, according to Kijiji, listed through Century 21 Westman Realty, for $98,500 Canadian dollars. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, nearly 1,200 square feet, with an attached garage and a part-finished basement, all sitting on 2 1/3 acres of its own ground. Stop and sit with that. 3 bedrooms, a garage, 2+ acres around you for less than $100,000. In most of the country, that money is a deposit on a condo you'll never own outright. Out here, it buys you a roof, a yard you could lose a child in, and the room to breathe, so what's wrong with it? Here's the part the headline skips, and I promised I'd be straight. The bedroom downstairs may not meet egress code. That's the rule that says a basement bedroom needs a window big enough to climb out of in a fire. If it doesn't have one, a bank can get funny about the mortgage and an inspector can get funnier about calling it a bedroom at all. It's the kind of line that turns a 3-bedroom listing into a 2.5-bedroom reality, and nobody reads it to you. I'm reading it to you now. And the deeper catch is the map. Shoal Lake has barely 650 people, and that number is falling. The town lost about 1 in 14 of its residents in 5 years. Picture a grain elevator standing over a handful of streets, a 9-hole golf course, a freight bus that doesn't take passengers, and a highway running dead straight to a vanishing point. You need a vehicle for everything out here. The town is emptying, slow and steady, and that, not the house, is the real reason the number is what it is. Cheap follows quiet. Now watch what happens when the house gets cheaper and the corner gets lonelier still. Number 4. Melita, down in the far southwest corner of the province, tucked so close to Saskatchewan and the American border, you could throw a stone at both before breakfast. Down here there's a 2-story home on a corner lot near the middle of town going for $89,900 Canadian dollars, according to Kijiji and the Manitoba boards. And here's the spec that'll catch your eye. 4 bedrooms, 4 for under $90,000. The kind of room a whole family could spread out in without anyone sleeping on a couch. 4 bedrooms for the price of a nice pickup truck. So where's the bite? Start with the plumbing. 4 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. 1. So picture a winter morning, the frost thick on the inside of the windows, 4 people and 1 door with a lock on it. It's an older 2-story house, and that ratio tells you exactly how old. Built for a time when a single bathroom was plenty and nobody was in a hurry. But the real catch on this one isn't the bathroom, it's the geography, and it's blunt. Melita is one of the most remote little towns in the whole province, way out in the southwest banana belt where the grassland runs to the horizon. They call it the grasslands bird capital of Manitoba, which is a lovely thing to be, and a hard thing to sell a house on. There are barely 1,000 people here, and the number isn't growing. The land out here is thinning, the same as everywhere on this list. And that matters more than the house, because when you go to sell a place this far from anywhere, the buyer pool is as thin as the population. You can fix one bathroom. You can't move the town closer to a city. Now we cross back east, and the next house is older than your great-grandparents. Number 3, Killarney, down in the southwest near the lake that gave the town its name, and this is the one bright spot on the whole list, so let me give it its due. There's a one-story character home near the downtown going for 79,000 Canadian dollars, according to Kijiji. 3 bedrooms, the main one on the ground floor on a generous lot 100 feet by 120. And here's the line on the listing that makes most Canadians close the tab. It has, and I'm quoting, circa 1895 features, 1895. This house was standing before the car, before the radio, before 2 world wars. A house from 1895, that's the catch, plain as day. When a buyer reads a date like that, they don't picture charm. They picture knob and tube wiring behind the plaster, plumbing that's older than living memory, a foundation that's been holding up the weather since before Manitoba had paved roads. They picture the bill. A house that old is never just a house. It's 130 years of somebody else's decisions, and you inherit all of them the day you get the keys. But here's why I'd still go and look, and this is the only place on the list I'll say that about so warmly. Killarney isn't dying. While the rest of these towns are thinning out, Killarney actually grew, about 5 in 100 more people in 5 years, which out here is practically a boom. It's got farming, it's got agribusiness, it's got lake tourism, and a Canadian magazine once called it the best retirement town in the country. So you're not buying into a ghost, you're buying an old house in a living town, fix the wiring, mind the bones, and that $79,000 address is the steadiest bet on this whole list. Now we drop the price again, but this time you don't even own the ground it stands on. Number 2, Dauphin, up in the Parkland region in the north, the biggest town on this list and the gateway to the Riding Mountains. Here there's a home going for 74,900 Canadian dollars, according to Kijiji, nicely updated inside near 1,300 square feet, with what the listing calls a beautiful view of the mountains, and by the photos, it's the prettiest interior of the 5. Clean, modern, move-in ready. So why is a tidy, updated home this cheap when the old wreck back in Killarney cost more? Because of 3 letters most Canadians have learned to fear on a listing. It's a mobile home on a leased pad. Read that twice. You buy the house. You don't buy the dirt. The address is Unit 56 in a park, and the ground underneath it stays the landlord's. You pay a lot fee every month for the privilege of standing your home there, and if those fees climb, you don't get a vote. And there's a quieter knife in it, the one the cheap property videos always leave out. A stick-built house tends to climb in value over the years. A mobile home does the opposite. It depreciates like a car, a little every year you own it. So you can buy in cheap and live well with that mountain view out the window, but you're not building the thing most people buy a house for. You're renting the land and slowly spending the house. For the right person, someone older, on a fixed income, who wants comfort now and isn't counting on a windfall later, it can be a smart, warm place to land. Just go in with your eyes open. And speaking of eyes open, if you've made it this far down the list with me, you already understand the real rural Manitoba market better than most folks who'll ever scroll Kijiji. So do me one favour. Hit subscribe and let's finish this list together, because the last one is the cheapest of all 5, the biggest house of the lot, and the one I told you we were working toward from the very first number. Number 1, Boissevain, down in the southwest, a small farming and service town near the American border. And here's the number I opened with, 58,900 Canadian dollars. That's the whole asking price according to the Manitoba bulletin boards, with Royal LePage showing the same town floor right around that figure. And here's what makes it the wildest line on the list. It isn't the smallest house, it's the biggest. 2 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, more than 1,400 square feet of room, a story and a half on its own lot. The most house, for the least money, of anything we've looked at today. Let that one land. 2 bathrooms, after Melita made 4 people share one, 1,400 square feet owned outright, dirt under it that's actually yours, for less than a lot of Canadians owe on a single vehicle. No leased pad, no depreciating asset. A door you can lock behind you that's wholly completely your own. So what on earth is the catch on the cheapest, biggest house of the 5? It's that word on the listing, updating needed. And here's the tell, the thing I want you to carry away from this whole list. When the biggest house carries the lowest price, that gap is never a gift. It's a warning written in code. It means the place needs real work. The kitchen, the wiring, the floors, the things that don't photograph and don't sell but cost a fortune to put right. 1,400 square feet to update is 1,400 square feet of bills the listing doesn't show you. The 58,000 number is only half the story. The other half is the renovation, and nobody adds that up for you. I'm adding it up for you now. But here's the other half of that same truth. Boissevain has fewer than 1,600 people, and the price floor in a town like that sits low because the demand is thin, not because the house is worthless. A place that needs updating in a quiet town is exactly the kind of deal the average buyer scrolls past, and the patient one fixes up and lives in for 30 years. Run the numbers before you fall in love, but run them honestly, because once you've added the renovation, 58,000 for the biggest house on this list is still a door most Canadians don't know is open, and that, right there, is the whole point of this list. 5 houses, all under $100,000, every one of them with a reason most Canadians won't touch it. A basement bedroom that won't pass code, 4 beds and 1 bath, a house older than the country's paved roads, a home you own on land you don't, and a fixer-upper hiding behind the lowest price of all. None of those reasons is a scam. They're just the honest cost of cheap, written where the listings would rather you didn't look. Manitoba is bigger than Texas, with most of its people in one city and a quiet, emptying corner of the map for every soul who ever left a small town behind. The realtors will show you Winnipeg, because Winnipeg pays the commission. They won't point you at the $58,000 house in Boissevain, or the old character home in Killarney, because there's no money in showing you the cheap door. But the cheap door is still there. The numbers are public. You can check every one of them yourself tonight, listing by listing. What the realtors show you isn't the whole country. There's a way out there. In the small towns and the southwest corners nobody films, and folks are already taking it. So go see it with your own eyes, and come back and tell me about it. I'll see you